Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And welcome to the Forgotten Cinema Lead-Up Series. Each episode, we highlight a film from a popular series and follow it all the way to the most recent release. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it, even the not-so-good ones. Let's get into it.
Awesome. Nice job.
Thanks.
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. I survived the trip to LV-426. Got back onto Sulaco, saved a child. I became its kind of surrogate mother. Kind of started falling for this Hicks guy. I actually even like the android. And then, all of a sudden, 20th Century Fox comes and just completely messes up my story. I land on this other planet. Hicks and Newt are dead. Bishop's got a cameo. It's just... That's not a good time, man. It's not a good time.
Well, 20th Century Fox and 85 other writers.
I don't blame the writers.
Welcome to our Alien 3. I guess I was going to say edition, but Alien 3. What's the word I'm looking for? Entry in the Alien lead-up series. For those who have listened to our Alien and Aliens episode, you know that we are leading up to the brand new Alien movie, Alien. I forget it all the time. Romulus.
You got it.
I know. In middle of August. So we are going through all the Alien films, including this one, which we both begrudgingly were saying that, we need to watch Alien 3. So let's get into it. Now, Mike and I both, just so you Mike watched the special edition, which is also known as the Assembly Cut.
Assembly Cut.
Yeah. I actually watched both, not because I was like, I'm watching both. When I had watched the theatrical, I didn't realize that the Assembly Cut or the special edition was on the quadrilogy DVD box set that I have, which is obviously, it's a DVD set. It's not a Blu-ray set. So it's over 20-something years old. I didn't realize it was there. So I was like, all right, let me throw it on. So I watched both versions. So we'll be able to have a conversation about the differences and whatnot.
I went back and watched the theatrical as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So I said that. I went and rewatched stuff because I was like, I think I prefer. I knew there were pieces that I thought I liked better in the theatrical.
Okay. So we'll the notes I have for the facts are going to be the theatrical notes, the release of the theatrical, the numbers and whatnot. The runtime of the special edition is 223, 224. It's 2.5 basically.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Alien 3 has a runtime. The theatrical release of 114 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $50 million to $60 million. Release date was that's much before I go on, the production budget is much higher than the last two, obviously, than Aliens, right? Aliens was 15. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, they say this is the budget, but because they talk about ballooning budgets and all the writers they have to pay for all the different drafts, overall, it's probably even more than that.
I'm sure that's where this is coming from. Yeah. Release date was May 22nd, 1992. So it kicked off that summer of 92. Opening weekend, it was 19.4 million. Domestic did 55.5 million. International, 104.3 million for a worldwide total of $159.8 million. So probably not what they wanted. Production company was Brandywine Productions and distributed by 20th Century Fox. So I said it came out on the 22nd of May, 1992. Let's go back a week to May 15th. You had a wide release of Lethal Weapon 3. I don't mind Lethal Weapon 3, but I would say it's probably the weakest of the four. Hopefully 5 coming out soon. I don't know. What do you feel?
Yeah, but I really like Lethal Weapon 3 as well.
No, I'm not saying I don't like it.
I think it could. I know. I think you're like one of the only people I've talked to that actually really likes 3 as well. Because I remember being like, I really like 3, and people are like, no, 3's garbage.
It's just like 2's really good.
I like 3.
1's really good.
Right.
First one's really good. 2's really good. And then 3's not as good as those two. So people just crap on it, of course. So anyways, the 22nd of May when Alien 3 came out, it went up against Encino Man and Far and Away. both decent films in their own right. The 29th of May, the week after, you had a wide release of Sister Act. I don't know if they knew Sister Act was going to be a huge hit when it was first coming out, but it obviously was a huge hit. So that's a kind of these 3 weeks seem to be the 4 movies that are pretty solid in terms of different audiences and, who's in them and what they're going up against. So maybe Alien 3 never had a chance. This film was directed by David Fincher, who has disavowed this film. So, that'll be fun to talk about. He's been nominated for 3 Oscars: Mank, The Social Network, and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Story is credited to Vincent Ward, who's done River Queen and Vigil. And the screenplay is credited to David Giler, Walter Hill, and Larry Ferguson. Giler has done The Parallax View and The Money Pit, which we talked about last week. Hill has done 48 Hours and The Warriors. And then Ferguson has done The Hunt for Red October and Highlander. Cinematographer was Alex Thompson. He was nominated for an Oscar for Excalibur. He's also done Legend and Leviathan. He's actually... I don't know, was it a month in or a couple days in where he was brought on? Because the original cinematographer was let go. Did you read that note?
Yeah, I think it was very short, like very quickly into production.
Yeah. Let's see. Did I write the note down? I think I did. The original cinematographer, and I don't have his name, which is bad on my part, which I was annoyed. One of the notes one of the comments I said to Mike, I do have the note, was that there's so many notes about how bad this production was that I was just sick and tired of reading them, as they were kind of the same, but some of them were different and whatnot. So the original cinematographer was Jordan Cronenworth, and he only did 4 shooting days, and I guess he had Parkinson's disease, and it was starting to affect the work pace, I guess. So the line director, the line producer, kind of forced him off the set, and they brought on Alex Thompson. I don't know. I guess it wasn't an easy transition, but obviously that's kind of a difficult discussion to have. When somebody's kind of, their faculties are faltering, you don't want it's tough to say. So Alex Thompson came on and completed the job. Composer was Elliot Goldenthal, who's won an Oscar for a song in Frida, and he was nominated for a score in Michael Collins. He also did an Interview with a Vampire. Edited by Terry Rollins, who we talked about last week, I believe. He's done nominated for an Oscar for Chariots of Fire. He's also No Escape and Goldeneye. And produced by Gordon Carroll, David Giler, and Walter Hill, which were the producers for along with James Cameron, I think were the producers for Aliens. Carroll's done The Best of Times, an episode we did. Giler's done the TV show Tales from the Crypt. Big fan of Mike. Mike's a big fan of that show. And then Walter Hill has done Last Man Standing and Undisputed. So this film has only 1 returning cast member. Well, 2 technically, because Lance Henriksen has a cameo in there.
Whoa. 3. Michael Bihn's got a picture in there.
It's not. That doesn't count. He didn't get paid. Did he get paid for that?
He was paid more for that picture in Alien 3 than he was for the entirety of Aliens.
That's interesting.
He was mad that they made the mock-up of him and that the way that they got rid of him, and he was all mad about it. And he took issue with it. So they're like, but we need your likeness in the movie. We need to use it. He's like, no, you're not using my likeness on this dummy. But you can use my photo for the computer screen, but I want this amount of money. And Fox actually said yes.
Good for him. Sigourney Weaver returns as Ripley. We talked about what she's been in before, about Working Girl, Girls in the Mist. She was nominated for an Oscar for, and she's also in Ghostbusters. Charles S. Dutton as Leonard Dillon. He's one of the convicts. For those who don't know, we'll get to the synopsis of the movie real quick as soon as I look it up. Dutton's been in Rudy, A Time to Kill, and Gothica. Charles Dance as Dr. Jonathan Clemens. He was in Game of Thrones, obviously, Last Action Hero, The Imitation Game. Last Action Hero was an episode that we did on the show, on the main show. Paul McGann as Walter Golick, right? Queen of the Damned and the 1993 Three Musketeers.
And he was the doctor.
Just going to say it. He's the doctor in Doctor Who, the movie.
Seemed like you were going to skip it.
I was just pausing to get to it. Brian Glover as Andrews from American Werewolf in London, 1942, A Love Story. Ralph Brown as Aaron, or Francis Aaron as Wayne's World 2, Star Wars Episode 1. Danny Webb as Robert Morse from Valkyrie, which is an episode we did in season 1 of our main show, and Redemption. Holt McCallany, is in this maybe for like a whole total of a minute. Like when you compare the two scenes, he's in more of the special edition that he is in the theatrical. He plays Junior. He's in the TV show Mindhunter and Fight Club. And I talked about how Lance Henriksen is in this, playing Bishop 2, I guess they called him. And then Pete Postlewaite is in here a little bit with his same last name for some reason. They gave him his credit as David Postlewaite. So let's get to the movie. But let me get to the synopsis first, and then we'll get to it. Ellen Ripley is the only survivor when she crash lands on Fiorina 161, bleak wasteland inhabited by former inmates of the planet's maximum security prison. Once again, Ripley must face skepticism and the alien as it hunts down the prisoners and guards. Without weapons or modern technology of any kind, Ripley leads the men into battle against this terrifying creature. All right, Butler, what'd you love about it? Everything, right?
Oh man, this movie is so good. This movie, I still want you to say your quote. I want you to say your quote you texted to me about this movie.
Oh, I can't say that. My kids are down here. You say it. Go ahead. You say it. You don't even know it?
Here's a direct quote from Mike Fields. Alien 3 skull fucks the happy ending of Aliens.
I mean, it does. That's
like the perfect summary of this film.
And that's not I don't believe that's a hot take. I think everybody feels that same way. Everyone that loves Aliens. And I think we talked about it on the last lead up episode with Aliens, where I think we talked about how it was a perfect ending for the Ripley character and for just her happy ending with Newt and all that stuff. And then, you're greeted to this this is in the opening credits too. You're greeted to everything that happens in the beginning of this, where like there's a face hugger on the ship and all that stuff. And you just kind of like, you're already starting off the movie in a bad mood because you're just upset. It's not even sad. You're angry. You're angry that they did this.
You're giving movie theater patrons an excuse to get up and get a refund. You're ruining the movie before the 20-minute timer's up where they can get a refund for not liking the film.
I mean, I don't know if that, I'm sure that didn't go into an account, but that's a real thing. Like you're already ticking off your audience as soon as you start.
I'm sure test audiences loved it.
I didn't like it. Butler doesn't like it, but you move on, you get into the movie. You have to, give me something, Mike, because I know we're pretty down on this film. Again, that's not another hot take. Give me something how about this? Let's get something that they got right. Let's get stuff in this that we enjoyed, because I don't want to just get fully negative.
I think the film looks great. I think the tone, the setting, the cinematography, the lighting, I think all of that is really, really good. I think there are some really good Fincher type shots in here. It's definitely got that Fincher lighting, which works for the Alien universe. You and I both talked today earlier at the old day job when the alien gets on the bed. It's only in the assembly cut, I guess, when the alien comes down in the medical room and he's on the bed and you just get the shot, not of the alien, but of the bed spring coming down from under the bed. That's a phenomenal shot. And there's some bleak looking shots going down corridors, some of them lit by candle, that I think look really, really good. So I dig that.
What's funny is I watched the theatrical actually on Hulu, right? And then I watched the special edition on my DVD box set. And I think we're both proponents of physical media, but like there is a big difference with and it's just the DVD and it's the assembly cut. So it's not like they're finishing off shots in this movie in terms of color correction and everything. And it looked so much better with the DVD player rather than through Hulu. So, I mean, which I was like, wow, that's pretty shocking. I mean,
your assembly cut didn't finish color correction or anything?
There are some. So on the,
that's right. I think I read that.
Yeah.
On my Blu-ray, it's fixed, but not on your DVD.
On my DVD,
they went through a color correction pass.
Some of it's not fixed. Some of it's subtitled because you can't hear the audio because the audio is not. So like there's scenes where you have the one character in the foreground I'm trying to put my hand where the camera, one character in the foreground, the character in the background. And obviously they're miking this character, but they never got this shot. So you're getting the audio from this shot back here and you can see the subtitles will pop up. So it's only maybe a couple scenes here or there where the audio kicks in because the audio mix isn't done. Yeah, no, which I'm fine with. Cause I remember watching the Superman 2 Donner cut was had unfinished scenes and stuff like that, had the dress rehearsal of that scene. And that was fine. I mean, knowing that going into it, I'm okay with it. But yeah,
I think that's fascinating because I had read that they had to change it and they actually got the actors back to re-record dialogue for that. So you don't get the subtitles, audio's clean and the images are all cleared up. Although the alien in those shots couldn't be fixed. So he looks awful. I mean, he looks awful throughout most of it. The CG does not look good.
The little alien, the little xenomorph that comes out of in the special edition, the Ox, looked good. I thought that looked really good. When it came out of the dog in the theatrical cut, I thought it didn't look good at all. The close up it did, and then when it ran away, I was just like, meh, it kind of looks weird.
Well, because the close up from the dog is the close up from the Ox.
Yeah.
So yeah, I noticed the same thing because when they did the close up, I go, that's the close up of the butcher shop. That's not where the alien is right now.
Yeah. So obviously for those who watch the theatrical, the dog is the one that gets the face hugger attached to it. You don't ever see it happening. You just see the after effects and the dog, the xenomorph comes out of the dog. But the Ox, my question to you today was the Ox got it and the Ox is dead. So, but this thing is still, the xenomorph is still growing inside the dead Ox. I didn't understand that concept. If that was okay. So that's what we're saying now. That's what we're happening here.
Either they think or they just think the Ox is dead because he's in a coma like all the people do. And it's just a prison planet. So they don't have a vet checking out the Ox. I prefer the dog to the Ox, although the Ox looks better. Because obviously you get this big fake Ox, but the dog story wise works a lot better than we have all these oxen.
Well, they bring the Ox out to bring the EEV in.
Only in the assembly cut.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So that's probably why they can't use the Ox in the theatrical cut.
Then. But even in the assembly cut, they hinted the dog because when you go back to the guy who gets chopped up in the ventilation shaft, he's talking to the vet as if it's a dog. Oh, there you are. I've been looking all over.
They didn't remove the dialogue.
Yeah. It's you can't get around the fact that you shot it to be a dog and then you chose later, no, it's an Ox. It's no, you shot it as a dog. This absolutely utter mess of a film that didn't have a finished script as they were shooting, and you could tell.
Well, we can get into that, but I still want to get you to give me some other good stuff they enjoyed it because you enjoyed the look of the
puppet
film,
is good.
The shots, yep.
The alien in the suit actually does look good this time. Obviously, I think probably one of, if not the best shot in this entire saga we're going to be looking at is the shot in Alien 3 where he's putting his face up against Ripley, and Ripley's like, I think that is an iconic shot, and it's one of the first shots I think about when I think about the Alien franchise, and I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. So the alien effect, the physical alien, the CG, like we said, is not good. I also like, and I think they should have done it earlier, the first person effect of the alien, like the alien cam. I like that to show off its speed and the fact that it climbs on the walls. I thought that was
with
cool.
The fisheye lens. Well, I don't know if it was a fisheye lens, but it was. Yeah. So back to your scene that you like. That scene almost never happened. The infirmary scene, when the alien comes, because studio denied Fincher to shoot it. They were like, "No, you're not going to shoot that," and he did it anyways without telling him. He went and shot. So obviously,
good for him.
He knew what was going on. Let's get into the script. So let's get into the beginning. So I know there's more, but I have 4 ideas that they started off with. You probably know this, but the first idea was set on Earth, and dozens of aliens invade Earth, and then they fuse together to form some giant monster that destroys New York City, and then from there, then the action went away from Earth. So that was the first idea, which is not good. That was the first idea. The second idea, and this is when they approached Ridley Scott, was that Ripley and Newt end up in some kind of Blade Runner like metropolis and on a different planet. And they're hunting, they say a mobile creature. Obviously, they're hunting an alien. But I guess it was too expensive. Gibson actually wrote the script. William Gibson wrote the script. And it was meant to be a first half of a 2-parter. And the first half was going to take place on a space station. And I guess obviously the second half would take place I guess, on this planet or wherever. But then Scott dropped out.
Yeah, the first half was all Hicks and Bishop, and the second one would be more Ripley and Newton. They would meet up at the very, very end.
Scott dropped. Third idea, Rennie Harlan comes aboard to direct it, which he then leaves to go do Die Hard 2. He wanted to explore the aliens' origins, so he brought Eric Red on board, but then quit after reading Eric Roth after reading his script. So he's like, all right, forget it, I'm out. But that had alien human hybrids invading like a space colony that was supposed to be like Earth. It was modeled after Earth. So they got rid of that. The fourth idea was David Twohy. It took place in a space prison. So we're now close to where we are in Alien 3. But I guess it was rejected by director Vincent Ward. So Ward was going to be a director who then gets replaced by Fincher. Because I have a note that some producer informed on Ward to Fox that he was doing a buttload of cocaine while working there. And he was out of control, and that's kind of why Fox. This is not from me. This is from my notes from a producer. I guess I was out from whatever. So Fincher comes on, and then they keep the off-world colony. They even in rewrites, but initially Ward's script before they kept the prison. Ward's script had the alien attacking a monastery on a planetoid with monks,
made of all wood.
So I don't know. So obviously, at the jump, this thing is just out of control.
Not to mention all the demands Ripley had about what should and shouldn't be done with her character, trying to get Ripley into it. I think the first script didn't have Ripley, and then they wrote Ripley in one of Twohy's scripts, or the first guy wrote two versions, one where Ripley is in it and one where she's not. Mm-hmm. And Twohy obviously famously went off and did Pitch Black, so good for him. Because people like Pitch Black. People don't like Alien 3. Well, I would even say people like Chronicles of Riddick more than 3.
Sigourney Weaver didn't want to use a gun because she's a anti-gun advocate, so she didn't have.
I think she didn't want guns in the movie at all. Yeah,
she didn't want it. She didn't want him in Aliens, and Cameron was like, "No, we're using guns." So she was. So this one, obviously she had a little bit more leverage because she's basically the protag, the star of the series. So she got that, and then I guess whatever else she liked the script. I know she liked the idea of shaving her head and all that stuff. So she was kind of like a different way to take it. But yeah, so my whole point with that is the script is just all out of control to begin with. I mean, I get why Fincher's doing it. It's his first film. You're going to say yes to it. Like I said, he disowned the film. Quote, I had to work on it for 2 years, got fired off it 3 times, and I had to fight for every single thing. No one hated it more than me. To this day, no one hates it more than me. Those are pretty strong words.
The reason it's called the assembly cut is because he wouldn't go back and do the director's cut.
Yeah.
He gave the producer had to go and get his blessing, and he's like, okay, but as long as you don't call it a director's cut. And he's the only director from the, I don't know if the quadrilogy has it, but I've mentioned before the anthology has beginnings before the director's cut for every director, talking about why this is their version and what they did. And he's the only director that was like, no, I don't want anything to do with this movie.
And then I read a note that there's like his original cut was 3 hours, and I don't remember I read that too. I don't remember the producer, but the producer said it was like a masterpiece. I mean, if you're Fincher and you're like, and he doesn't need to come back, but let's say he's like, I want to go back and redo that. So you have to redo the effects. You have to redo the special effects of the alien.
Yeah, it's going to have to be you're going to have to George Lucas the hell out of it, which I'm fine with. It's a bad movie. It's not a very good movie. So you can go back and change it, fix it if you have to. Show us what you wanted to do. Although a 3-hour cut is going to be rough because it's not a very exciting movie.
Well, so let's talk about the movie itself without trying to compare it to the Aliens film, obviously.
Impossible.
I guess, what do you think of the idea of setting it on this, setting Ripley in this double Y chromosome jail, like the whole premise, of
the premises of a double Y chromosome thing is just stupid.
So that's obviously an all male prison, but this prison has been shut down. So it's just being run by a skeleton crew, as Clemens says, to keep the pilot light on. So it's not really at full capacity.
It's not even a prison anymore. It's basically a mining outpost because all the prisoners are essentially free to do what they want as long as they stay on that planet at this point.
Right. Well, no one wants to go outside.
They're all converted or whatever.
So many lice out there.
Oh my God, the lice. The assembly cut has so many more bugs than the theatrical.
Gross. All right. So what do you think about that premise?
I don't remember the question.
The premise of the prison guard, the whole thing.
Oh, just the prison? Oh, the whole
Putting
thing?
Ripley in the situation with an alien and all these dudes.
I like it. Overall, obviously it could have been done better. I think I don't want to keep hammering home that point, but I do like that general premise is interesting. If she didn't have Newton Hicks and you're still not, it's just lazy and bad storytelling and just, I'm sorry, you're not writing a first movie. You're not even writing a second movie. You are writing a third movie with established characters that the fans love and enjoy. So by not having them, you've already ruined it.
Mm-hmm.
But that aside, if they didn't do that, or if Ripley had already been by herself, I think the prison planet's interesting because it's an excuse not to have weapons. It's a good excuse. I like it a lot more than the monk planet, which is just kind of stupid. Like I'm not a huge fan. I know it's like artsy and it's cool looking, and it probably would have had interesting designs. But a monk outpost made of wood in the middle of space is just dumb, and there's no real way around that. I like the prison planet works with the aesthetic of Alien. It puts Ripley in a situation that's awkward and uncomfortable, where even the people she's got to team up with could also be doing terrible things to her at the same time. So I think it adds this tension, and it's definitely a different location than while staying within the same kind of visual and thematic world that we were already in, and different enough. I think that part works pretty well.
What do
you believe?
Well, Mike, what about the idea that in the first film, the alien is just killing them, right? He's just killing.
No. I was going to bring this up. Yeah, no, it's stupid. The first film, he doesn't kill him. No. He kills nobody. He puts him up against the wall.
No. What are you talking about?
In the first movie?
In the first Alien, the alien is killing people, is killing the crew.
Who is he killing? Because you find, I think he's making eggs out of people.
No, that's not.
He's putting them in the hive.
That's not where. Dallas is dead in the first one.
No, Dallas is alive, and he's like, kill me, because he's being turned.
That's in your special edition. That's not in the theatrical.
Well, but he's not shown killing them. He takes them away. Regardless, he's not shown killing anybody. Other than Yaphet Kotto, because Yaphet actually goes at him. He's the only person that you see like physically murder somebody.
My thing to you is like, okay, so I can't believe we're talking about Alien. So in Alien, you don't see them. Yes, they get taken away, but you don't ever see them again. So you can't assume, like, granted, you watch the special edition. You can't assume they're being cocooned and made into eggs. You have to assume they're being killed.
But you also don't see bodies everywhere either. But there's no bodies, no blood.
But she's the last surviving member of the Nostromo.
Well, because she blows them the fuck up.
Well, they're dead. Anyways, the second movie,
Alien 2.
Yeah, Alien.
They definitely don't kill anybody.
Right. Well, they kill some, but they don't kill, not all. They're taking some back.
I don't know if they kill anybody.
Oh my God, dude.
A lot of the Marines die, but a lot of the Marines die because they kind of kill themselves or each other.
Okay.
Like, I can't think of it.
Right,
I can't think of any.
Why is the alien killing people in this one?
That's my whole thing.
And eating people.
No. Since when does he do that?
I don't know.
All of a sudden he eats people?
Well, I asked you.
And wouldn't he be saving people for his beautiful queen?
I asked you why he comes out before this afternoon. I asked you why the xenomorph comes out of the ox fully formed, or out of the dog fully formed, and you were like, well, because it's probably in the ox, but like still, it comes out like ready to go, ready to rock and roll. It just has to get bigger and shed. And does it need to eat people to shed? Like, what's the motivation here?
I don't know. I will say in the Alien vs. Predator video game that came out in like 1999, you do have to eat people's heads to get bigger to become a fully grown alien.
It's a video game.
When you play it. Exactly. But I think they're taking it out of 3. I mean, all he's doing is head biting everybody. It's just the same kills over and over. It's not even interesting kills.
Why does it take longer and the answer to this better not be because it's the queen. Why does it take longer for the alien to gestate inside of Ripley Is it because of the special cocktail he's giving her? The Clemens is giving her? It better not be because she's a queen inside of Ripley.
I was thinking the writer's excuse would be because it's a queen, but really it's because story, obviously. Because in reality, that queen is going to be really big.
Yeah.
And Ripley is just going to die. Like, there's no way she's moving.
Right.
But yeah, it's just for story beats. Look at Kane and everybody. Like, like an hour or two, and then all of a sudden they're
after the first
out.
Because they eat. Yeah.
So yeah, other than story, I couldn't tell you. It's just like an excuse for story. But maybe it is the cocktail. Maybe it's putting the alien to sleep too. Yeah, because the alien's tiny. So maybe it's too much stuff.
Do you think that this is no? I'm basing it on the first two, not the whole entire series of Aliens. But this feels like up to now, this movie has less horror and less action in it than the others. Would you agree with that? Don't agree with that in terms of what's happening in the movie itself?
I would agree. I mean, the alien is basically seen before it does anything, so you kind of. There's no horror in that regard. It's definitely bloodier than the other ones. At least the assembly cut is bloodier.
Well, I read notes about how the assembly cut, I read a big thing about how, what they changed. And then when I watched it, it was like, that didn't like, they actually say in the assembly cut, they show you more when they do the autopsy on Newt, but they don't. It's the same.
Yeah, it's the same. So it's the same thing.
Right.
I thought the same thing.
They said that.
The only thing the assembly cut shows more is you do see Newt more messed up.
Oh, she actually looks different. It's a different shot. Yeah. When they're in the EEV, when they first go see the bodies. The other thing they said was that the first guy that gets it, who's cleaning the vent, that you see the effects of the acid on his face. More so, melting his face more so than you did in the theatrical cut. That didn't happen as well. It was the same thing. So I don't get these notes sometimes that just don't make any sense.
I think it's people watching it way later on and believing they know what they're seeing. Like, oh, that's definitely more acid than I remember. It's like,
Two things. One thing I did like in the opening, and one thing I didn't like. I did not like the quick cuts, the quick close-up cuts to start the movie. I didn't like that at all. I thought that was very I couldn't get this
jarring.
Weird. Right. But I did like the evil fanfare music for the 20th Century Fox logo. I did like that. So I like how it just kind of like goes like, and you're like, oh, this is not good. So I did like that. The title in and of itself, in terms of when the title comes on screen, wasn't very engaging. It was just kind of like Alien 3. I still don't understand why it's to the third power. I don't understand why we decided to do that.
It's more sci-fi and chemical and formulaic.
Is it? Is that why we did this?
The original was a 3 on top and a slash, like a fraction.
Maybe.
What they should have done is it was made a few years later, once the internet and like Leet Speak came out, that 3 would have been in the E for Alien. For sure.
Interesting. Oh, no, totally. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, I mean, it's pretty underwhelming. I mean, it's tough because we've lived with this film for 30 years now. So we already are down.
How many times have you seen it?
This is I'll probably make my second or third full time.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is my third or fourth.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I've probably seen parts of it here and there. I mean, it's not one I go back to because it's just there's not enough in there for me to kind of, oh, this is a cool scene. Like, I think I remember when we were talking about it, or I was talking about it with somebody a while back, talking about that scene where in the infirmary when the alien comes up to Ripley's face. Like, that scene is so emblematic of the entire franchise, and it's in the worst movie.
Yep.
I mean, and I think I asked you this, and we kind of talked about it a little today. I think the more and more I think about it, I think I view Aliens, Alien 3 or the Third Power, and Alien Resurrection as its own little franchise within a bigger universe. I don't like the Prometheus movie and moving forward. I think those are different and separate. I think these 4 with Sigourney Weaver in them are a different little chapter book or storybook within that, or volume within that larger thing. So when I say that it's emblematic of the series, I think it's emblematic of the Sigourney Weaver part of the series.
The Ripley saga.
The Ripley, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we're giving them an idea they already know, but I'm sure we're going to get a quadrilogy box that says the Ripley saga, and that's what's going to happen. And then I'm sure the Prometheus saga will happen down the road at some point. So I guess, yeah. So that's just something that it's funny that like that shot is in the worst one of them all.
What I think is funny is how many times I've seen Alien and Aliens, like how big of a fan I am of the franchise as a whole. Like I've read, when I was growing up, I used to buy the novelizations of things. I used to collect all the Alien comic books, action figures, video games. And yet Alien 3, I rented twice growing up because my parents were like, this movie's awful, I don't want to watch it. And I was like, but I love Aliens. I want to see how the trilogy goes.
Yeah.
And like I rented it one other time just to make sure I didn't like it, like a few years later. Like I think right before Resurrection came out, and I've only ever seen Resurrection once. And I've seen pieces of it. I do like it. I think you're
going to enjoy Resurrection, revisiting it a lot more than you enjoyed revisiting this one.
I'm hoping. I know there's stuff in Resurrection I hated, but I remember overall enjoying that movie. So, but it's funny to me, like just aliens, like aliens, and then
Alien 3 is like the example of the piece of dialogue in The Dark Knight where Aaron Eckhart saying Harley Dent says like you last long enough to either die a young hero or you last long enough to become the villain. That's Alien 3 right here. It's one movie too long, and it was almost like they had to do Alien Resurrection to wipe that taste out of their mouth.
Well, the thing is, I think, and the one that like one of the things I haven't gotten before is that Hicks Bishop. Like they did, I don't know if they did the second part of that story, but they did the Hicks Bishop part of that 2-part story with, they actually got Michael Biehn and Lance Henriksen to voice themselves. And they did an audiobook version and an actual graphic novel. I kind of want to get that and see what the story was, because it sounds interesting. Kind of like, it reminds me a lot of Neil Blomkamp's, wannabe Alien 5 that he didn't get to do, that would have erased these last 2 aliens from of the Ripley saga from our memories.
Now we're talking multiverses again. We're talking different universes. You actually this is gonna be a shock to you, Butler, but I think you might be agree with Roger Ebert here, who said, quote, probably the best looking bad movie I've seen in a while, adding, quote, I lost interest in Alien 3 when I realized that the aliens could at all times outrun and outleap the humans, so all the chase scenes were contrivances. End quote. So I guess
I actually did read that review, and I do absolutely agree with it. I actually lost interest. Not only can he catch up, but the fact that he only kills people, like everybody loves the inner mouth. It's creepy. It's oddly sexual. It's super H.R. Geiger. But the fact that every kill is that little mouth and there's no like claws, she barely uses the tail. It's just kind of like, you're a one-trick pony, alien. You're a one-trick pony. Except for when he pulls the guy out the vent and all the blood comes out. That's very Evil Dead.
In the infirmary, in the cafeteria, or when they're putting
the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Somebody bring her back to the infirmary. Everything's
that was like the
very Morgan Freeman in Deep Blue Sea.
No, you mean not Morgan Freeman, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. So some of you may be wondering, if this movie was so bad, why didn't it end David Fincher's career before he even started? And the note I had was that 2 things saved him from getting put into, I guess, director jail or movie hell or whatever, is that Sigourney Weaver publicly sided with him against 20th Century Fox, saying that, this movie was messed up for studio interference. They were constantly, he was put in an impossible situation as a young director, which, you don't want to happen. But also that that producer, Arnold Kopelson, knew he didn't respect the management at Fox. And he knew that, it wasn't Fincher's fault. And he believed in David Fincher, that he basically, when he got the chance to get a new project for him, he offered it to him, and that project was Seven. So, obviously, it's about the relationships in the business, but it's also, if people know you're talented, they're going to help you out. And if, I'm sure Fincher didn't enjoy the experience, but that experience probably helps make him the director he is right now. And just in terms of, how he is on set and how he just is, with dealing with the studio and stuff like that. You never, these bad experiences sometimes shape you as a director. So thankfully, this didn't kill his career. And actually, we've got some really good films out of it.
Yeah, because let me tell you a little secret.
Uh-oh.
7's really good.
Who doesn't think it's good?
Everybody thinks it's good. I don't know anybody who doesn't.
I was going to say.
I'll tell you who thinks Alien 3 is good. John Amenta, one of our Patreon supporters and a friend at the Pint. He wanted me to mention on this episode that he loves this movie.
Is he paying extra for that?
Is he being honest? Is he not? I don't know.
Well,
is he setting up his own Alien 3 episode?
I'm pretty sure they already did this. I think they already did the Alien series a year ago. So yeah, I think we're copying them. I don't believe that for a second. I mean, come on.
Nobody likes Alien 3.
I mean, he would be the first person, and in all seriousness, he would be the first person I know that is for this film. You know what I mean? Like, I could see like our friend Greg liking this film from work.
Oh, yeah.
But like, he would be like, I don't know anybody that thinks this movie is good, and whatever. If John likes it, that's great. But he'd be the first person I would know that liked this movie. It's tough to say if you would suggest this to people, or, I mean, you have to kind of, right? If you're watching the Alien franchise, you have to watch it.
If someone's just getting into Alien and they're like, oh man, Romulus is coming out, what should I watch? I would have to say you have to watch the Ripley saga, as we're now calling it. Yeah, you have to. Even 3. 1 and 2 are must watches. Like I think you brought up for Alien, I would also agree with Aliens. They're much watched cinema. If you like film, you need to watch those movies because they help shape movies that came after it. No doubt.
I mean, if you watch Resurrection, your first question is going to be, why Ripley's dead? How did they get her DNA? Like, what are they doing here? Like, you have to watch Alien 3 to see, or at least the ending, to see that, to understand why they did all, like, because the Alien Resurrection's plot line is based upon the events in Alien 3. So you kind of have to, almost, just to kind of have a better understanding of it, because they don't really,
but I would say they have to watch that movie.
Nah, I know, but like, I'm a completist, so I'm not going to watch a series of films and not watch one entry. I just think that's, even if it's bad, you got to still kind of like, let's just see what's going on here. Let me form my own opinion.
When you watch Superman 1 and 2, you then have to watch 3. And even after you watch 3, you're like, I have to put in the Quest for Peace,
baby. Quest for Peace makes 3 look like 2. That's how bad the Quest for Peace. Like, I forgot in Superman 4 that when he's flying around the globe, it's a guy, it's a figure on a stick going around I forgot that. I remember when I watched it, I was like, holy cow, I can't believe this isn't a major picture.
Canon Films took over, and that's their budget. That's the movies they make. My buddy of mine bought me the DVD or the Blu-ray anthology. 3 and 4 have sat unwatched, and
3's got,
I'm a fan of Superman, and
3's got evil Superman though. 3's got like bad guy Superman with the beard going. I mean, isn't that 3? Yeah, that's 3.
That's 3. The junkyard fight.
That's awesome. It's so stupid.
Richard Pryor stealing the pennies, which is then taken in office space.
3 had the moment where she gets taken by the machine, like the stuff wraps around her. Like remember when the older sister gets the machine eats her or something like that, and it's got like stop motion. Like that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Like, that was creepy. I was always afraid of that moment. But it's like one of those moments.
Were you afraid of Nuclear Man?
No, nobody was afraid of that. I mean, it was good to see like Gene Hackman in there, and then like John Cryer's in it, and you're just like, all right, well, I guess we're having a little fun here, but Quest for Peace is not good at all. Okay, anyways, how about this, Butler? Is Alien 3 better than the Quest for Peace?
Alien 3 is better than both Superman 3 and the Quest for Peace.
Well, there you go. You heard it here.
Those are really flawed movies.
All right, so I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. Clearly. So, Butler, why don't you? I mean, I guess actually no, we don't do anything. Where can you find it? You want to thank any of our patrons? You want to thank apologize for them if they watched Alien 3?
We apologize that you had to watch Alien 3 if you watched it before we talked about it. Honestly, as long as you remember it, you don't have to go back and watch it. But if you've never watched it before and you're watching this with some excitement leading up to Romulus, like you've seen Prometheus and Alien Covenant, then unfortunately you're going to have to, I think, grit your teeth and watch it. But I would definitely recommend the assembly cut over the theatrical.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot more out of
that
it.
I think make it much more watchable.
It makes the scene with Clemens, the death of Clemens makes that scene a little bit, like Butler was talking about a little bit with the bed, makes that scene a little bit more tense.
Yep. Paul McGann, them trapping the alien and Paul McGann letting him out because he's a serial killer.
Right.
Adds some much needed kind of darkness to those prisoners. Like some of them were serial killers, they said, and here you go. This is what happens. He worships the alien.
Yeah.
So I think the assembly cut's got some stuff. I'm glad I rewatched it because I haven't watched it since I was probably 13, 14. So I'm glad I went back and rewatched it. Maybe, when I'm in my 70s, I'll go back and rewatch it again.
And the assembly cut is the same as the special edition. So either one is the same cut.
Right.
All right, then, Mike, I think thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for being patrons.
Absolutely. We will obviously return in this series for Alien Resurrection, which probably with a lot more verve and excitement. There's a little bit, I'm a little bit more anticipatory of watching that film than I was of Alien 3. So that's good. I've got nothing else, Mike, unless you've got something to add.
Nothing. I can't wait to watch Ripley bang the alien queen.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that part. Oh boy.
And now he's not excited.
I wonder if there's a director's cut of that. I wonder if we'll see more.
I don't know. Is there going to be more of the alien screaming mommy as it gets sucked out of the airlock?
So sad.
I do feel bad for it.
Such a sad moment. And the alien's ugly as heck. And then Brad Dorr. We'll talk about that next week. All right. So anyways, everyone, thank you. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And much like David Fincher, we are disowning this film. Take care, everybody.